Hey everyone, me Kevin here. So news just came across that PayPal is considering buying Pinterest. Now, Pinterest went up as high as 19% on the news, vacillating around 10 to 13% right now. Who knows, maybe it'll bleed out more. But the discussions are rumored to be taking place around $70 per share for Pinterest. Now, PayPal shares are down, obviously, because PayPal doesn't have $40 billion in cash, so they'd have to either sell shares or just issue shares to PayPal or Pinterest shareholders to make this deal happen, hence why PayPal is selling off a little bit. Not necessarily that PayPal shareholders don't like this idea, it's dilutive. Now, PayPal, for what it's worth, is looking at Pins as a profitable company. Pins is expected to be potentially as much as $700 million in the green by the end of this year, as we like to say, in the black in accounting, profitable, so they're not losing money anymore. They could be seeing revenue as high as $1 billion next year on bottom line, so net revenue, or I should just say net income, of $1 billion by next year, and potentially $2 billion of net income by 2025. At $70 per share, once you count all of the classes of shares, you're probably looking at paying close to $45 billion for Pinterest. And the acquisition rumors, which have not been confirmed by either Pinterest employees or PayPal employees, it has a lot of folks scratching their heads. There is a lot of focus from PayPal right now on the online shopping boom. We know that the pandemic has accelerated folks transitioning to online shopping and becoming more familiar and used to shopping online rather than going to brick and mortar. This news is also, by the way, helping Etsy pump up, and that's probably because of an endorsement by PayPal into the online shopping movement right before the holiday season. It's worth noting that PayPal has been doing a lot to really try to either get access to our data or make our lives easier when it comes to online shopping. Consider that PayPal bought Honey, the checkout coupon finder, for $4 billion recently. PayPal also bought Paydi, a Japanese buy now, pay later platform. PayPal does offer buy in 4 buy now, pay later, although I haven't seen specific longer term 0% financing, kind of like the way Affirm does in partnership with other companies. I'm a little surprised that PayPal would be interested in paying $45 billion for Pinterest, where we've seen user growth misestimates in quarter 2, a slowdown coming out of the pandemic. Last 2 times that Pinterest has reported earnings, the stock fell about 10%. The stock has been one of my, unfortunately, recent losers, and it's been one of the stocks where I've been looking at it like, it's just one of these days it's got to bounce back. It's like, come on, wake up and do something. And finally, I mean, we have a bounce here on this PayPal news, but this could be fleeting. This rumor could also disappear. Quite frankly, this deal might not come together at all. But when we search for hints as to why PayPal might be doing this, it helps to just kind of think for a moment. Okay, so Pinterest has sold down, which makes them more attractive. They are profitable, and their stock has been falling. They had a peak in February. They've been falling since then. Part of it has to do with user growth slowing down, the co-founder stepping down, accusations of discrimination by women inside the firm, and overall potentially a favor of companies like Etsy over Pinterest. Though I have to say, in just anecdotal conversations with vendors, there are a lot of vendors who seem to think that Pinterest has a higher conversion rate for ads compared to companies like Facebook or even Google Ads. And this makes sense for Facebook, especially since the Apple iPhone changes for what kind of data Facebook is able to track and use for advertising from, for example, iPhone users, where somebody with an account on Pinterest might be able to have a lot more of a customized algorithm. I personally have found Pinterest's algorithm very, very quick to adapt, almost somewhat addicting. Pinterest has recently had its website traffic finally U-turn from a declining trend to an increasing trend in August as Pinterest introduced and finally implemented, because they started talking about this back in May, but finally implemented the Ideas pins Now, I'm not too familiar with idea pins, but it does seem like idea pins are an opportunity for creators to pitch products and integrate products into recipes and instructions and create videos and voiceovers and music. So really trying to build up a creator experience with shopping, which is pretty smart because then you could follow not just topics, but also creators and immediately buy what somebody else is buying. Quite frankly, I think that YouTube should do things like this. Like I wish you'd be able to just like click here and buy this dagger, this RuneScape dagger off Etsy, right? That'd be kind of cool if I held this up and all of a sudden below here there was a button, or on screen you just click the button and you can buy this, or below there's a little icon that lets you check out for this dragon medium helmet that I got 3D printed, right? So, I don't know. I think those things would be very cool and very smart for an improved online shopping experience. And I think Pinterest is an avenue for making that happen. Now, PayPal doesn't really have like an e-commerce store, right? They show up as the checkout option on other people's websites or domains or whatever. And PayPal obviously wants to process as many transactions as possible. If they do buy now, pay later, they take the transaction. If you pay with PayPal, they take a transaction cut. If somebody's checking out with Honey, even if they're not checking out with PayPal, PayPal can track where you're spending, why you're spending, what your habits are. They can cater their algorithms to try to figure out where are customers. Who knows? It's entirely possible. And this is just speculation, but it's entirely possible that PayPal acquired Honey, realized a lot of people were discovering these random merchant websites through Pinterest, and that they're actually saying, wow, wait a minute, we can now track people go from Pinterest to e-commerce stores of whatever companies, and then they're trying to use Honey for coupons or whatnot. Why not potentially try to take control of the Pinterest platform? Because, see, here's what happens. If you get merchant platforms that have, anybody can use Honey, right? Because that's just a browser plugin that you click on and then it looks for coupons, right? So the merchant doesn't actually have to put a Honey button on their website. But in order to have PayPal, the merchant would have to agree to put PayPal as a checkout option on their website, which PayPal, by the way, is an option for my programs on building your wealth, link down below, where you can get you can still get 41% off using coupon code Diamond Hands all the way through October 29th when the price goes up. But there is a PayPal option and you can pay in full with PayPal, by the way. But anyway, with PayPal, you actually have to have a merchant that's willing to go out of their way to integrate PayPal, which I did. And one of the interesting things about acquiring Pinterest potentially is that if merchants are advertising on Pinterest and now they're working with a PayPal company, maybe one could imagine that there would either be an incentive or probably not a requirement, but some sort of inducement to, hey, if you're going to advertise on Pinterest owned by PayPal, why not also click this button and enable PayPal checkout on your store? It is basically, I don't really think that PayPal really wants Pinterest. I think they want more checkouts using PayPal. And if they can use Pinterest as the Trojan horse for getting more checkouts with PayPal, because now they're in conversation with merchants who are advertising, who are spending money for more business, and PayPal's like, hey, while you're spending money for more business, we could save you fees by switching to PayPal. As little as 15 minutes. I'm just kidding. But anyway, it's interesting to me. Now, one thing that a course member pointed out, which I thought was also fascinating, I'm going to put it up on screen here. Take a look at this. So here's a product manager checkout integration career opportunity at PayPal. And here's the description. The branded experience team, which is the core payment business at PayPal, is looking for a talented, ambitious, and self-motivated product manager to own and drive PayPal's checkout selection of products. So that's interesting, selecting products where PayPal's maybe going to offer buy now, pay later, like Affirm does, right? You will play a key role in crafting the buyer experience for online shoppers all the way, this is interesting, from discovery, Pinterest, to selection of payment methods, Honey and PayPal, to completion of their shopping experience using PayPal or various product offerings. Buy now, pay later. You will be responsible for building these experiences for PayPal's core markets and emerging markets if you're eager to shape the future of commerce globally, whether it's web or mobile, and have a proven track record of launching successful products at scale, we have a role for you. It seems expensive, though. I mean, PayPal is paying, PayPal paying $45 billion for Pinterest when PayPal's market cap is sitting at $304 billion. 45 divided by 304-ish, that's about 14.7%. About 14.7% of PayPal's market cap going to pay for PayPal. And we don't know if it's for sure yet, but if we look at it the way I feel like we just had a conversation about it, it kind of makes sense. And Pinterest has some big growth in it. It's kind of a sexy, newer company. It went public in 2019. You've got a growth rate of like 50% in 2020, and like 80% in 2020 to 50% in 2021, probably between 20 and 30% in the years going forward. They're still going to grow, maybe not as fast as other people think, but they're still growing. And you've also got PayPal, which has a pretty strong growth rate, 19, 20, 21%. Pretty strong for what is a relatively mature company. But this could be that sex appeal that really expands PayPal into a completely different market. I mean, really, you have potentially thousands of hostage advertising vendors that aren't using PayPal who now might be tempted to use PayPal. It's smart. I don't know about the numbers. PayPal's going down, in my opinion, again, not because PayPal investors are like, this is stupid. I think it's more because, again, it's dilutive to the shares that you own at PayPal. And I mean, you would be getting an asset in return, but people who are in PayPal may not have bought Pinterest and maybe aren't convinced yet. So sure, it balances out. It's like, hey, we're going to issue $45 billion of more shares, but we're going to get an asset that's $45 billion more. It should balance out, but as a percentage of the float that's available, you're going to be increasing the percentage of PayPal shares outstanding and available for trading, and that usually leads stock prices to go down, even though it should even out on the accounting side. So there probably is some element of some PayPal investors being a little spooked by this and confused by this, but I think I can see it. Again, we don't have an official statement yet from the companies, but I think I can wrap my head around it. I actually don't think it's that terrible. So anyway, there you have my thoughts on PayPal and Pinterest. Would I buy PayPal? Maybe. I'm not convinced, but maybe. Maybe it would make sense to potentially sell some puts on PayPal since it's going down. I also have, because look, if the deal falls through, the stock will go up. If the deal goes through, maybe there'll still be some downward pressure for PayPal, but it's an interesting long play. And it might make sense to try to backdoor into PayPal with some sold puts, especially on a potential elevated day of volatility like today. I also am down on call options on PayPal. I'm sorry, on Pinterest. And if they converted to PayPal options, I don't know that I'd be upset. I'm let's put it this way. I'm intrigued. I'm not convinced. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Check out this program's link down below. Subscribe and share if you found this helpful, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.